15th Commissioner meeting to order at this time and ask Ms. Barbara McCoy, Commissioner McCoy, to do the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us bow our heads, please. Dear Lord, we come before you tonight, just thanking you for another day. Thanking you for your many blessings and your mercy and your grace. We thank you for allowing us to assemble here tonight and take care of the business of the county and the people of Harnett County. Guide us, Lord. Give us the knowledge, the wisdom, and the patience to make the right decisions as we move forward on our agenda. This is my prayer, and I thank you. Amen.
Please remain standing as we do the Harnett County Heroes Remembrance presentation.
You probably don't have to sign in, David. Sorry. She's gonna have to sign in, or
You have to sign in.
she's gonna close it out.
Okay. How much security?
Let me say it right. The majority of our citizens are going out of this county to find jobs and to work. And they're spending that revenue in those counties where they work. So we need it. We need it, and I can guarantee you that I want to see this happen. I want to see this come to fruition. Thank you for your comments, because it is important.
Thank you. Eric Stevenson. Brent, I think there's something wrong with the live feed. I understand there's something wrong with the live feed.
I don't see.
I think he's up there working on it.
He's working on it. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Y'all doing all right? Hello?
We got you.
Yeah.
Y'all doing all right? Okay, cool. This thing on? My name is Eric Stevenson. I stay at 100 Valley Stream Road here in Spring Lake. And I just want to take a moment to talk about something that Harnett County is doing very, very well. You know, we hear a lot of complaints all the time. And I had an opportunity to sit in on Veterans Court. And I was thoroughly impressed at what I saw. For several years, I worked as one of the government managers of the transition program on Fort Bragg. And our number one mission was to ensure that soldiers transition out properly, which means they're not underemployed, they're not unemployed, and they don't find themselves in a state of homelessness or disarray. But oftentimes our veterans do. You know, we find ourselves in those situations, and Harnett County is leading the way. And I met some of the staff, and I sat in the court for several hours, and I was just thoroughly amazed. I had never seen anything like that, and I've seen many veterans transition out, and they don't have a veterans court, and they find themselves in tough situations. They're going through situations with PTSD, anxiety, and other things that the average person may not understand. But clearly, Harnett County understands it. I'm so thankful that we have that Veterans Court, and I hear people complain all the time, and I just want to just come here and say thank you guys for the support that you give the Veterans Court, and I would only ask that you continue to support the Veterans Court for our veterans that may find themselves in those situations. Like I said, as a veteran, it just touched my heart to see that, because what's the difference between me and a person that's in Veterans Court? One situation. You know, we all go through things. You take one pain pill, to you may sleep it off. To the other guy, it could cause addiction, and that addiction could find themselves having brushes with the law. But when you have a county like Harnett County that understands this unique population, it really does mean something. And I just wanted to just take these few minutes to thank you guys for your support. And I would just ask that you continue to support the Veterans Court and do anything that you can to get the word out to even more people in Harnett County that they know that we have a Veterans Court. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Chairman, the feed went live again 2 minutes ago. We're back up.
Okay. All right, at this point in time, we will close the public comment. Moving on to item 6, consent agenda, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve consent agenda, Mr. Chair.
Motion and a second. It is a consent agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, public input session for the recommended capital improvements program, CIP, for fiscal years 27 to 2033. So at this point in time, we will open the microphone up for anyone who would like to talk about the capital improvements program.
I'm back again. Richard Chapman, 5220 Christian Light Road. The CIP is a wonderful document. Huge, but it's nicely organized, informative, interesting, succinct, and I'd like to thank Lisa and the county manager's office and all the people who worked so hard in compiling it. It's a wonderful document, and I know it took a lot to do that. The CIP is really sort of a snapshot of the county, but it's also like a nonfiction novel describing between the lines who we've been, who we are now, and who we hope to be. In going through it, I kept wondering whether people 7 years ago who contributed to it then had in mind the people of today, and whether the people 7 years before them had in mind the people of today and 7 years before them. And are we today envisioning accurately the county's needs and priorities in 2033? That's tough to do. And I think the answer is maybe. That's because in reading it, I kept getting the feeling that we're sort of like targets in a long-term game of kick the can down the road. And I kept wondering how many past county commissions and school boards simply didn't want to raise the money to renovate, expand, or improve facilities, so they slapped Band-Aids on maintenance needs and kicked the can down the road. Sort of a let Mikey eat it theory of government. And that implies that today, we're the poor saps who have run out of Band-Aids and are left holding the bag and trying to figure out how to make all this stuff happen. It's just a feeling, but it's a feeling that's hard to shake when I read that the school board wants $549 million. That makes me feel as if the CIP is not so much a nonfiction novel as a true crime story. The introduction to the CIP says ideas were due from department heads by October 24th and that today is the day for public input. What it doesn't say is what effect that public input will have. Will ideas be offered that actually are considered? By whom? With what depth of expertise? And when? And in public. I would think that we would add a line into the text that would explain the public input process and adoption by the county commission. It is, after all, the public's plan. But let's get back to the $549 million the school board wants for new facilities. That's a big number, a lot of money. And it gets even scarier when you consider that that's just for new schools. The bill for renovations hasn't even been submitted yet. The whole thing made me wonder if deferred maintenance was cooked into that $540 million due to some degree of neglect in the past. It also made me wish North Carolina could collect impact fees to offset the home builders who waltzed into the county, built stick homes, and sold them to families fleeing Wake, whose first question was, where are my kids going to go to school? Makes me wish our legislators were here to answer that one, but they never, if ever, show up at these meetings, so I'm not going to wish for their presence very hard. But getting back to the CIP, it says on page 10 that projects are evaluated by a scoring system, and that's great. Except it makes me wonder what projects ended up with a score of 0 and were listed as don't do. It would be nice to know the ideas that didn't make the cut, and I would suggest that we add that. On page 11, under debt indicators, the CIP cites our present debt to appraised value ratio of 2024, which is likely wrong because we just concluded a reappraisal and we've gotten more people moving into the county, so the ratio has to be different than 0.935%. More important, I think, would be some discussion about what that ratio means and why it's significant. We are higher than average but lower than the worst. What about it? And while we're at it, explain the debt per capita number. Does that include children, jail inmates, college students? I think it's an important number, but I think we need the paragraph to explain why it's helpful in understanding this document. Now let's move on to the cool stuff. So far, the CIP proposes spending $549 million on kids. What's in it for adults? Well, there's a farmer's market. I like that idea. I can't imagine why it's taken so long to get that idea on the front burner. And the animal shelter. I'm not much of a cat and dog man, but I certainly see the need. And after that, though, there isn't a whole lot that I'd call fun, which may be why there's such an emphasis on this in the CIP on parks. It turns out that Harnett ranks 90th in the state in picnic shelters and 88th in playgrounds. How do you rank 90th in picnic shelters? What has to happen for that to occur? I don't know. How did we fall so far behind? Of course, picnic shelters and playgrounds are largely warm weather amenities, which is why I gravitate to year-round solutions, such as an indoor recreation center with space for basketball, volleyball, pickleball, after-school programs, summer camps for kids, meeting spaces for clubs and special interest groups, boxing, weight training, yoga, jazzercise, and just plain hanging around to drink coffee. Wouldn't that be cool? We can't do those things in schools. The schools are for kids. Don't we need something for adults? I mean, something other than a new morgue. While we're at it, how about building some outdoor pickleball courts as part of the Neils Creek Park project? Putting an all-weather bubble over a couple of tennis courts and expanding the restroom and concession building to include a pro shop for stringing, equipment rentals and sales, ladders, tournaments, lessons, and partner finding, just like the big boy counties do it. We already have solid usage. The CIP says that. We need the wherewithal. My last idea, I raise a little bit with trepidation because of the shootings at Brown University and in Australia. I think Harnett could use an indoor shooting range for use by both law enforcement and to teach firearm safety to the public. There are more guns in this country than people, and too much anger. The least we can do is to start training kids about the seriousness of firearms and ways to secure and handle weapons better than Grandpa and Daddy can do it. My understanding as well is that the sheriff's deputies have to maintain firearms proficiency on their own, that they have no place to hone their skills. That sounds crazy. I think we need to give deputies a place to practice and the public a place to learn. Seems to me that that should have been a law enforcement priority a long time ago, and I think we ought to put it on the list. For now, that's it. I wish the CIP did something to advance tourism in Harnett, some way of making our county and the Cape Fear River that runs through it a destination for everybody in the state. But a recreation center and a firearms training complex and a bubble over tennis courts, that's enough to swallow without adding anything more. One step at a time. Just some thoughts. Thank you.
Someone else like to speak on the CIP plan?
My comments is just brief. Larry Mitchell, 478 Century Drive in Cameron. The Harnett.org website has these documents online for citizens to review. The three important documents that the county manages well and written well is the strategic plan, the CIP, and the FY 25-26 budget. The first 10 pages of that budget explains a lot of information that what relationship you have with the Board of Education, the Board of Elections, and it details that information to the citizens. So when they come up here at the podium to talk about schools, maybe some of them comments need to be going over to the Board of Education. I do attend them, and a lot of times Mr. Matthews can see I'm probably the only one there. So citizens need to become familiar with these documents. They're very well written. They're understandable, even for a 12th grader. So thank you very much for these documents.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak about the CIP plan? Seeing no one, we move on to item 8, the public hearing for the purpose of adopting an ordinance authorizing the demolition of the condemned structure located in 19 Andrea Court and to impose a lien to recover costs associated with the demolition and disposal.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Chairman Jaggers, Board of Commissioners. I don't think anyone else has said it. I want to wish each of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, that time of year. Randy Baker, on behalf of Development Services, we are here tonight requesting that the board conduct a public hearing. We have a structure that had suffered severe fire damage at 19 Andrea Court. We have conducted all of our requirements as far as the condemnation hearing for this. No one from family or any heirs has stepped up to make any improvements on the property. It was condemned on July 9th. And no action has been taken to this point. But we respectfully request that you conduct a hearing to adopt an ordinance giving us the authority to demolish and dispose of the property.
Thank you. At this point in time, we'll open the mic for a public hearing. Anyone wanting to speak on this ordinance may come forward at this time. Seeing no one, the public hearing will be closed, and I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adopt an ordinance authorizing the demolition of 19 Andrea Court and to impose a lien to recover the costs associated.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9A, discuss and consider a request to accept the proposal from Southern Disaster Recovery Debris Management Removal. Larry Smith.
Good evening. We have put out an RFQ for this. We received 7 proposals. We graded those proposals based on several factors. Went down the line for capacity for them to mobilize, financial stability, the size of the firm, training, experience, the equipment they have on hand, and the ability to get subcontractors when needed. And really in particular, that expertise in FEMA reimbursement process, which can be pretty convoluted throughout that process. Past performance and reasonableness of cost. After we've looked at all those, Southern Disaster Recovery met all of those. They have a great track record, especially during Hurricane Helena. They've done most of the state's work for that. They have the ability to respond to multiple operations at once. And one of the things that hit for us is they'll hire a lot of local subcontractors during that process. And they already have folks on their list, and they do have a staging area a little bit east of Dunn for equipment. Have any questions?
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing no opposition, motion carries. Thank you. Item B, discuss and consider a request to award the Anderson Creek C&D landfill expansion construction contract to Lockamies Grading Incorporated from Manager, North Carolina in the amount of $224,955.
Good evening. It's a mouthful, isn't it? Hope everyone's doing well this evening. Coming to you this evening just to ask your approval for this contract with Lockamies Grading. It's an expansion project at Anderson Creek Landfill, and your bid tabs are, I think, in your packet as well. If you'll note, they were the second lowest bid that we obtained. We did get one lower, but they did not provide all the necessary requirements. So that's the reason you have that in front of you today as far as the Lockamies Grading. I will interject one thing as well. We have used Lockamies Grading for our last expansion project at Dunn Irwin, and it went very well. So, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have this evening.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item C, discuss and consider a request for approval to add a new position, election specialist. Mrs. Claire.
Hello, good evening. So essentially, our voter population has grown by more than 10% in just 2 years. That growth is reflected in the workload we are carrying around, from voter registration and absentee processing to voter ID production and increased public inquiries. Our staff is managing significantly more responsibilities than even a few years ago. The newly appointed Board of Elections reviewed these demands and unanimously affirmed that an additional election specialist is needed to maintain accuracy, responsiveness, and service levels going into 2026 election cycle. A key point for today is that funding for the remainder of the fiscal year is already available through lapsed salary savings generated from recent staffing transitions and temporary vacancies. Those savings, combined with the expected vacancy period for this position, are sufficient to cover the prorated cost if this position begins in January. No additional appropriation is needed for this fiscal year. Adding this position brings us in line with comparable counties and gives us the capacity we need to manage continued voter growth responsibly while maintaining accuracy, security, and the service of our voters expect. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Is this a new position?
It is a election specialist, yes.
Mm-hmm. Did you say that you already have funds available for this?
To cover out this fiscal year, we do. We've had some turnover that has, again, opened up some funds to cover this cost.
All right, well, it's going to be needed, so. Motion to approve it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item D, discuss and consider a request for the approval to purchase a ballot-on-demand system to modernize ballot production, reduce operational costs, and improve service to voters. Ms. Jones?
Okay, so you do have a packet I put before you guys today from Print-Elect talking about the ballot-on-demand system. As we continue preparing for the 26 and 28 election cycles, we are seeing an impact of steady voter growth on our operations. One of the challenges we consistently face is managing dozens of different ballot styles across multiple sites. Pre-printing thousands of ballots creates waste, increased storage and handling needs, and exposes us to the risks of shortages during high turnout events. A ballot-on-demand system eliminates almost all of those issues by printing each voter's exact ballot on the spot. This system is not only more efficient but financially responsible. In past elections, we've spent tens of thousands of dollars on ballots that were never used, as well as on staff needed to manage a ballot inventory. Ballot on Demand allows us to reduce both waste and labor hours, and the savings will begin to offset the initial purchase over the next few election cycles. While we may have some contingency funds available at the year end, the purchase will ultimately require fund balance appropriation. Overall, this is a strategic investment that modernizes our workflow, improves accuracy and ballot security, and ensures that every voter receives the correct ballot without the risks and inefficiencies of large-scale pre-printing. I would like to also note that 47 counties already have this system in use.
Ms. Jones, how long would it take, if we said do it tonight, how long would it take to have this system up and running?
Our goal is to have it up and running for the primary in March, or well, early voting in February and primary in March. So we would definitely jump on this.
So do you know how much money you've got to have? You said you got some contingency dollars set aside.
We may have some contingencies that we could use. Upfront cost. The upfront cost is $83,700, but then every year after that, the maintenance fees is $14,000.
Right. But of that $83,000, how much do you have?
I don't know exactly how much I have right now. I know we have about 50 to 60 in contingency for postage equipment and other items, but that's just a ballpark figure.
Did you say 15 or 16 or
50?
50.
Yeah.
50.
50,000, 50,000.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, Ms. Jones, 20 printers, would that, I'm assuming that definitely would be enough to cover every voting site. Would that be enough to have some in the background in case something went wrong and there was a replacement needed on that day?
So these ballot on demand, the idea is to use it during early voting, because early voting is when you have 20, 30, 40 ballot styles at one site. So these printers will be used primarily for early voting. On election day, they don't have as many ballots, maybe 2 or 3 different ballot styles. So we will not have this right now at the election day sites. However, if any site were to run low on ballots for whatever the reason may be, or an emergency come up and we need more ballots, the printers will be in our office and we can print ballots on demand at our site and get them to the locations quickly.
If you're gonna do it for the early voting, why not do it for the regular voting?
It would bring the price up dramatically, because what this quote's for will fully staff our 5 early voting sites. And Print Elect is here if you have any questions. We do have some representatives here. But typically you have 1 ballot on demand printer for every 2 check-in stations. So with our 15 election day sites, we would need 4 to 5 printers at each site, so we would definitely need a lot more. The goal is to incorporate this for early voting where we need it the most, and then if we see that it works and we can grow with it in the future, then we could do that. So that's always going to be an option. Right now, the need is really with the early voting when we have numerous ballot styles at every location.
So I
And
guess
you will have to have extra staff too.
I'm
So
sorry.
you will have to have extra staff for this too, right?
No. So having ballot on demand would actually decrease some of our staff needs at the sites. Because when you go to check in and you give them your name and address and they print your ATV, they'll print your ballot at that same check-in station. So you would not have to go to that ballot table and stand in another line.
So I believe what I'm hearing is that the real cost savings would be in early voting when there are a larger number of ballots, different types of ballots. And once we get to the primaries, that number diminishes significantly, and so the cost savings is not nearly as
So our large cost savings will be on the printed ballots. And then, of course, we would have some cost savings of, not having to have as many election workers. But we're going to be saving a lot in the ballot cost.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Do you know off the top of your head what percentage voted early in the last election cycle?
We had about 70% of our voters voted during early voting.
So almost 3/4. So by manning these 4 or 5 sites, whatever they are now, would cover most of that,
Correct.
of the voters that are voting in this okay, assuming that trend stays the same.
And as we've seen through every election going on, the early voting numbers just keep increasing every election as people see that.
So we would be serving almost 3/4 of the voters.
Correct. And then I would like to point out, I think this is in your packet as well, if enough voters are given the wrong ballot style, it could potentially cause a new election. And so with encoding and ballots, election workers, a new election can be over $200,000. So we want to make sure we can eliminate as many mistakes possible at the voting sites. And ballot on demand would definitely solve that.
Well, ballot on
That
demand
potential.
also would make it more secure. Because you
Correct.
wouldn't have blank ballots sitting around in stacks.
That's correct.
And I'm not opposed to it, but I do feel personally that some of those voting places that you all have selected, it's going to hinder voting, the early voting. I really do think that.
Okay. I guess that the proper thing to do is if you want to really get into we need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the purpose of the ballot on demand system as presented by Ms. Jones.
Second.
Well, we have a motion and a second, and now we'll open for discussion. My one question would be is the funds, where would the funds come from to, she has some money, but where would we get the funds from?
It would come from our fund balance. Now, depending on the amount that was needed, we might have some of the general contingency that we put aside each year, but it really depends on how much we're talking about, because there have been some needs with regards to our contingency already. So it just is hard to know. We're only halfway through the year. What else comes up? So it's easiest to say that part of it will come from contingency, but likely a portion of it will come from fund balance.
Yeah.
What you're telling us is that we can afford the 30 or 35,000 that she needs to make this work for the primary.
Yes.
And I'm not hearing any moaning from Ms. Honeycutt down here, so I'm assuming that.
I think the key is we're making an investment with this. This is a system that in the long run will reduce our costs. And that's the important thing, is that it may run into our fund balance, but in the long run, this will help us financially with expenses.
And I would like to add too, our second primary is, all of our money for our second primary is currently in contingency right now. And that's why it's hard for me to give you an exact number, because if we don't have a second primary, then we can certainly cover this 100%. But I can't sit here today and say that we're not going to have a second primary.
Okay. We'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hear no opposition, the motion carries.
Thank you. You guys have a great night. Stay warm.
Item E, review of reappointments for the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we reappoint Mr. Carl Davis.
Second.
Third.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we reappoint Ada Smith.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hear none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Review the boards and committees commissioners serve on. Does anybody have an issue with anything that they've been assigned to?
I'm satisfied.
Say that again.
I'm satisfied.
Do we need to vote on this? Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the list of boards and committees assigned to commissioners as you have presented, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. County Manager report, Mr.
Thank you, Chairman. The first item, I just want to mention that county offices will be closed December 24th, 25th, and 26th, and also January 1st, which all those occur before our next meeting. Our next meeting date is January 5th. I want to answer a couple questions, some things that were brought up regarding Vulcan Elements. The reason that went there was there an existing 1 million square foot building, which we don't have in our county. That was one of the primary things. They needed to move fast. We did not have an existing building. And so that was one of the primary factors that resulted in it going to that location. Now, the good news is the owner of that building is working on a site that they have in Harnett County to potentially in the future build a 500,000 square foot building as a private development. So that's encouraging. He is a friend of ours, and he spoke at our economic development summit that we had. And he's very bullish on Harnett County, and I think we could see something happen there. So that's the primary reason. Remember our CIP consideration and vote, our first, yes ma'am.
Will that be in the industrial park? The building?
No, it'll be on his own site that he
It's on
has.
his own site?
Yeah, it's up by Rooms to Go.
Oh, that's good.
His site is up by Rooms to Go.
That's good news.
And we're currently working with him and marketing it when we have a project that's of interest. Remember, our CIP consideration is on January 5th. That's our first consideration. If we need to make any changes, please let me know if there are any issues that you would like to see considered so that we can do the research and be prepared for that on the January 5th date. And we'll mention, he is right. Recently, it was mentioned about the maintenance fund for the school district. We have $1.4 million we put in the budget each year in order to allow us to do maintenance at each of the schools. And that is helping us to keep up with some of the things that in the past we did not do, that we just let fall apart. And so I think that was a change that was made about 4 years ago, I think. And it's really helped a lot. And we're doing the same thing with our own buildings. We have money that we're putting aside for our facilities folks to take proactive work on heating and air conditioning systems, other types of roofs and parking lots and those kind of things, and get those things done before they become major repairs. So just wanted to pass that along. I do need a motion to approve budget amendments as requested by the finance director.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the tax rebates, refunds, and releases as requested by the tax administrator.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to authorize the chairman to sign contract amendments that exceed the manager's signature threshold.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Any new business tonight? Hearing none, is there a need for closed session?
Mr. Chairman, no need for a closed session. Merry Christmas.
I will entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Aye.